Welcome to Zen Mind. Thank you for choosing to stay here a few more minutes in a world full of noise. Some people walk into a room and bring a cloud of negativity with them. They don't need to shout. Just a glance, a careless remark, is enough to drain your energy. The problem is, they do it every single day. And what's even more concerning is that we allow it to happen. Negativity has no power of its own. It only becomes powerful when it finds an untrained mind. In this video, we won't teach you how to strike back. We won't teach you how to win arguments. We will talk about becoming immune to criticism, immune to judgment, immune to those who see the world through a dark lens. You will understand why your reaction is the real battlefield, why negativity is often a projection of someone else's insecurity, why emotional discipline matters more than being right or wrong, and finally, how to build an inner strength solid enough that no one can shake you with just a few words. If you want to walk through this world without being dragged down by other people's energy, stay here. Zen Mind begins now. Part 1. The real problem is not their negativity, it's your reaction. People often think they are hurt because other people's words are too sharp. But the truth few dare to face is that the pain is completed inside their own mind. Words are only vibrations in the air. Their meaning is created by the way we interpret them. Stoic philosophy always emphasizes that between what happens and how we feel, there is a space. In that space lies the power to choose our response. Without the silent consent of your mind, no negative word can touch your core. When someone throws out a criticism, the first thing that happens is not emotion. The first thing is perception. You hear it. You understand the meaning of the words. Then the mind begins to interpret. It compares those words with the image you hold about yourself. That interpretation is what creates the emotion, not the sentence itself. The Roman philosopher Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations that you have power over your mind, not over external events. That is not soft encouragement. It is a declaration of inner authority. The world can be noisy. People can judge. But your response is private territory that no one can invade unless you open the gate. Reaction is a programmed habit. Since childhood, we learn to defend, criticized, and we feel sad, insulted, and we feel angry, disrespected, and we feel offended. But Stoicism asks a different question. Is that reaction truly mandatory? Or is it simply the momentum of an untrained mind? Between stimulus and response, there is a brief moment. That moment is as thin as a thread. Yet within that thread lies freedom. If you pause for a beat, you will see the emotion has not fully formed. You can choose another interpretation. You can see criticism as harmless sound. Freedom is not in stopping others from speaking. It is in refusing to immediately believe your first interpretation. Emotion does not fall from the sky. It is produced inside. It forms when you label an event. If you label a sentence as an attack, you will feel attacked. If you label it as a personal opinion, its weight immediately decreases. The name you give it determines its power. Many people say they are hurt by someone. That word makes us feel like passive victims. But in reality, we participate in creating that pain. We add old memories. We add fear of judgment. We add the need for validation. Then the emotion expands, not because the words are strong, but because we feed them with our own thoughts. When a negative person appears, what they carry is simply their inner state. They speak from their own insecurity. They see life through their own distorted lens. If you accept that distortion as absolute truth, you allow it to take space within you. If you see it as the product of another mind, you keep your calm. Immunity begins when you separate the event from the story. The event is a sentence being spoken. The story is everything you add afterward. They do not respect me. They look down on me. Everyone must think the same. Those stories do not come from outside. They are written inside your head. An untrained mind reacts instantly. It is like a body flinching at a loud noise. But a disciplined person understands that not every sound is danger. Not every word is truth. Calmness is not inborn. It is the result of observing yourself again and again. You can try something very simple. When you hear a negative comment, do not answer immediately. Do not rush to argue. Just ask, silently within, does this truly touch my core values? Or does it only touch my fragile ego? That question will slow the automatic reaction. Others do not control your nervous system. They do not press a button to make you angry. They only present a stimulus. Your body and mind decide whether to amplify it. When you understand this, you stop blaming. And when you stop blaming, you begin to take control. True strength is not making others silent. True strength is hearing everything without being carried away. Like a still lake reflecting the sky without holding on to any cloud. Negative words may touch the surface, but if you are deep enough inside, they cannot disturb the bottom. An untrained person keeps trying to change the world, wants others to be less toxic, wants the environment to be less harsh, wants every word to be gentle. But the Stoic chooses a different path. Instead of fixing the world, they train their mind. When you truly understand that reaction is a choice, everything changes. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of words. You stop searching for perfect silence outside. You begin building silence within. And from that place, other people's negativity is no longer a threat. It is only passing sound in a world where you have learned to master yourself. Part 2. Stop taking things personally. Rarely is an attack truly aimed at you the way you imagine. Most of the time, it is simply a reflection of an inner world in chaos. People do not speak from objective truth. They speak from personal experience, from fear, from insecurity, from wounds that were never healed. Psychology calls this a defense mechanism, projection. When a person cannot accept their own weakness, they unconsciously see it in others. When they feel incompetent, they easily label others as inadequate. When they lack confidence, they feel threatened by confidence in someone else. What they criticize is often what they are struggling with inside. A peaceful person rarely needs to make others feel small. A happy person has no urge to spread toxicity. They do not look for targets to attack, because their mind is not full of pressure needing release. Negativity is often inner pressure leaking outward. When you understand this, your perspective shifts. Instead of asking why they said that to you, you begin asking what they are going through, what they feel insecure about, what they are lacking in their life. That question is not about excusing behavior. It helps you step away from the emotional arrow. Epictetus once emphasized that what matters is not what happens, but how we respond. That statement does not deny that people can be harsh. but it reminds you that the final authority lies in your response. If you treat every word as a verdict, you hand over the keys to your emotions. Personalizing everything is a habit of a fragile ego. It makes you believe the world revolves around you. A cold glance becomes disrespect. A piece of feedback becomes an insult. Silence becomes proof of rejection. The mind loves to create stories, and those stories usually place you at the center. But reality is much simpler. Each person is immersed in their own story. They are busy handling their own worries, busy chasing their own goals, busy facing their own failures. You are not the center of anyone's universe. And that truth is actually freeing. When someone attacks, instead of defending, take one step back. Ask quietly within, what does this say about them? What are they afraid of? What are they lacking? What are they trying to hide? That single question weakens the weight of their words. Projection often happens silently. The speaker is unaware they are projecting. They believe their judgment is objective. But in reality, they are only seeing the world through the distorted lens of personal experience. You do not need to fix that lens. You only need to refuse to wear it. A mature mind does not absorb every surrounding energy. It filters. It observes. It evaluates before believing. If the words do not reflect truth about you, they do not need to be kept. If they contain some truth, you can learn from it without diminishing yourself. Stopping the habit of personalizing everything does not mean becoming indifferent. It is an act of protecting inner stability. You are not the target of every burst of anger. You are not the cause of every discomfort. Sometimes you simply appear at the wrong moment in someone else's instability. The ego constantly seeks recognition. It wants to be liked. It wants to be praised. And so it also fears criticism. When you rely less on validation, you become less sensitive to judgment. Both come from the same source. A person immune to negativity is not someone who does not hear it. It is someone who does not let it define them. They understand that every word is a mirror reflecting the speaker, not a portrait of the receiver. That distinction creates freedom. The world will not stop judging. People will not stop expressing their inner state through words. If you take everything personally, you will live in an endless emotional battlefield. If you understand projection, you step out of that war. When you truly stop personalizing everything, a quiet space appears. In that space, you are no longer a target. You are simply the observer. And from that place of observation, you are no longer pulled into the spiral of negativity. Part 3. Train emotional discipline like a warrior. No one is born immune to hurt. The ability to stand firm in the face of insult is the result of training. Like muscle, the mind only grows stronger when challenged. If you have never trained your emotions, you will react by instinct. And instinct is often weak under social pressure. A warrior does not wait for the battlefield to learn how to hold a sword. They train in silence. They repeat the movement until it becomes controlled reflex. Emotional discipline is the same. You do not wait until you are insulted to learn calmness. You prepare in advance. The Stoics practiced what is called premeditatio malorum. They imagined the worst that could happen. They pictured being misunderstood, being criticized, being rejected. Not to become pessimistic, but to let the mind grow familiar with the possibility. When you deliberately imagine being attacked with words, You reduce the element of surprise. Surprise is what makes emotion explode. When what you prepared for appears, it no longer carries the same force. You have already seen it in your mind. You have already heard those words in imagination. So when it happens in real life, you are not shaken. Strength is not in avoiding discomfort. Strength is in enduring it without losing control. Voluntarily stepping into small discomfort keeps you from collapsing under larger discomfort. Practice staying silent when you want to argue. Practice listening when your ego wants to rebel. Practice keeping a calm face when your heart beats fast. One simple but powerful technique is the 5-second delay. When you hear something that irritates you, do not answer immediately. Count slowly in your mind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That pause cuts off impulsive reflex. Instant reaction is often the product of unchecked emotion. When you give yourself a few seconds, reason has time to appear. You begin to ask, is this really worth my anger? Or am I just protecting my ego? That question shifts the direction of emotion. A true warrior is not easily provoked. They do not treat every insult as a battle to fight. They choose battles that are worthy. Most negativity out there is not worthy of your energy. Recognizing that is a form of strength. Every attack is a test. Not a test of your worth, but a test of your self-control. Do you react with old instinct, or do you maintain new discipline? Each time you stay calm, you add another layer of armor. An untrained mind seeks comfort. It wants agreement. It wants praise. It wants constant validation. But the inner warrior accepts that recognition does not always come, and the absence of recognition does not shake them. Practicing voluntary discomfort builds willpower. Practice sitting still when you want to grab your phone. Practice finishing the hard task before the easy one. Practice accepting silence instead of filling it with explanation. Those small habits train your capacity to endure greater pressure. When you are used to controlling your reactions in small situations, you no longer fear bigger ones. Emotional discipline is not suppression. It is understanding clearly what is happening inside you. It is recognizing anger before it takes control. It is choosing behavior instead of being carried away. The weak try to win every argument. The strong try to win over themselves. Win over impatience. Win over the need to prove. Win over the urge to respond instantly. That victory is quiet but lasting. Emotional immunity is not a state of feeling nothing. It is the ability to feel without letting emotion control action. You still hear criticism. You still feel discomfort. But you decide how to respond. That decision makes the difference. When you see every insult as a training session, you no longer fear it. It becomes an opportunity to practice. An opportunity to measure your growth. An opportunity to prove you are no longer the impulsive person you once were. And gradually, through each moment like that, you build an inner strength like a warrior standing firm in the noisy battlefield of the world. Part 4. Detach without becoming cold. Many people misunderstand emotional immunity. They think that to avoid being hurt, they must become cold. They must close their heart. They must act indifferent to everything. But that is not strength. It is only extreme defense. And extreme defense always leaves a lonely emptiness inside. Detaching does not mean cutting off emotion. It means creating just enough distance so you are not drowned. Psychological distance helps you see things more clearly. When you stand too close, you see only chaos. When you step back, you see the whole picture. That step back is a sign of control. The Roman philosopher Seneca emphasized that wisdom lies in mastering yourself, not in eliminating your humanity. Mastery does not mean numbness. You still have feelings. You still feel pain, but you do not let emotion lead your behavior. You choose a fitting response instead of an impulsive one. When someone tries to provoke you, instinct wants to engage immediately. It wants to prove you are right. It wants to protect your image. But maturity allows you to ask, is this conversation worth my energy? Does this person truly want understanding or just victory? Not every battle is worth entering. Energy is a limited resource. Time is something you cannot take back. If you spend both on every negativity, you will drain yourself quickly. Not everyone deserves your explanation. Not everyone deserves your attention. Being selective is not arrogance. It is self-respect. Psychological distance can begin with a small shift in language. Instead of saying, "I am offended," say, "I am observing the feeling of offense." That shift creates space between you and the emotion. You no longer merge with anger. You become the observer of it. Calmness is not a lifeless face. It is inner stability. You can still smile, still listen, still understand. But you do not let emotional waves carry you away from your core values. A cold person builds high walls so no one can touch them. A mature person builds a strong foundation so no one can shake them. High walls create distance. A strong foundation creates stability. The difference lies in motive. One comes from fear, the other from confidence. When you no longer need to prove yourself before every judgment, you become freer. Free to listen without defending. Free to stay silent when needed. Free to walk away without feeling defeated. Sometimes walking away is the highest form of wisdom. There are moments when you should engage, when core values are threatened, when truth needs to be protected. But there are moments when distance is wiser. Knowing the difference is a sign of maturity. Not emotion deciding, but principle. Warmth and firmness can exist at the same time. You can be kind without being weak. You can be compassionate without being used. You can listen without being manipulated. Everything depends on your ability to hold boundaries. Boundaries do not need to be loud. They can be quiet. A well-timed silence. A smile that does not answer provocation. A decision to leave a conversation when it turns toxic. Those small actions reveal deep self-control. People often fear that if they do not react strongly, others will look down on them. But the reality is the opposite. Calmness makes others reconsider. Composure carries weight. You do not need to raise your voice to show strength. Self-control speaks for itself. Detachment is not abandoning your humanity. It is protecting your humanity from unnecessary harm. You keep your heart open, but you do not leave it exposed to every arrow. This balance requires awareness and constant practice. When you learn to detach without becoming cold, you reach a rare stability. You are not pulled into every emotional storm, yet you keep your human warmth. Calm but not numb. Strong but not rigid. That is the deepest form of self-mastery. Part 5. Build inner validation so external noise fades. Your value cannot be placed in the hands of others. If it depends on praise or criticism, you will live in constant fragility. Today you are recognized and you feel worthy. Tomorrow you are criticized and you doubt yourself. That fluctuation keeps your inner world unstable. And when your inner world is unstable, outside noise becomes overwhelming. A strong foundation must be built from within. You need to define who you are, what you stand for, what principles you follow. When standards come from the inside, outside judgment loses its power. It may reach your ears, but it cannot reach your core. Stoic philosophy speaks of self-mastery, an inner fortress, a place where honor, character, and principles are protected, not by loud resistance, but by quiet consistency. That fortress is not built on popularity. It is built on virtue. Virtue is not a vague concept. It is wisdom to distinguish right from wrong. It is courage to stand firm in difficulty. It is discipline to do what is right, even when no one is watching. When you focus on these three, you care less about what others think, because you know you are living by the standard you chose. Fragility appears when you need others to confirm your worth. You post to wait for approval. You speak to wait for applause. You act to be recognized. When recognition does not come, you waver. But when motivation comes from inner principle, you do not need an audience to continue. A simple but powerful habit is daily self-reflection. At the end of the day, ask yourself, did I live according to my principles today? Did I let emotion lead or reason guide? Did I act from my values or from surrounding pressure? Those questions keep you aware. Writing down your thoughts also builds inner foundation. When you record what you believe, you clarify it. When you face your mistakes on paper, you learn from them. A journal is not for complaining. It is a tool for self-adjustment. Each day you write a little, you strengthen your identity. Living by principle is different from living by emotion. Emotion shifts with circumstance. Principle does not. When you decide to be honest, you remain honest even when truth brings disadvantage. When you decide to persevere, you continue even when motivation fades. That consistency creates inner confidence. Those who live by emotion are easily swayed by public opinion. They are excited when supported. They collapse when opposed. But those who live by principle maintain steady rhythm. They do not need the crowd to confirm their direction. They confirmed it within themselves long ago. When you know who you are, criticism becomes information. You examine it. If it is true, you adjust. If it is false, you release it. No drama, no wounded pride, no overreaction. Outside noise will always exist. Social media, public opinion, conversations filled with judgment. You cannot make it disappear, but you can lower its volume by strengthening your inner voice. Your inner voice must be trained. It must be clear. It must have direction. It must remind you of your core values when you waver. If you do not build it, you will borrow other people's voices to define yourself. Self-mastery does not come from proving you are right. It comes from living right. When you know you did your best, acted according to the standards you believe in, you do not need arguments to defend your honor. Your actions already defend it. Defining your own worth is not arrogance. It is taking responsibility for your life. You stop handing the key of your self-respect to others. You keep it in your own hands, and you decide when to open the door. When your inner foundation is strong enough, the world can be noisy without shaking you. Praise does not lift you too high. Criticism does not drag you too low. You stand in the middle, steady and aware. And in that state, outside noise fades into the background before the powerful clarity of your inner values. No one can make the world less negative overnight. People will continue to judge. They will continue to project their fears and insecurities onto you. They will continue to say things that are not easy to hear. That will not change. But you can change your position within all of it. You can stop standing where every arrow reaches you. You can build a stronger inner space, a place where outside words no longer have authority over inside emotions. Immunity to negativity does not mean becoming numb. It is not coldness. It is not ignoring everything. It is the ability to hear without absorbing, to see without identifying, to understand without being carried away. When you control your reactions, you reclaim power. When you stop personalizing everything, you free energy. When you train emotional discipline, you become steady. When you build inner value, noise gradually loses its force. The world may be loud, but your inner world does not have to be. Perhaps real strength is not found in changing others, but in becoming unmoved by them. At that point, you no longer need to fight negativity. It simply no longer reaches you.